Hi everyone, it's Coach Kathy here to talk to you today about how you can track your money in 10 minutes every week. And one of the things I really like to, I love to talk about money. People laugh at me because, this is a topic that I enjoy, but I know many people don't like to talk about their money because it's overwhelming. They're not sure where to start. And so I want to give you something, just a couple minutes every week where you can really think about getting your finances in order. A lot of it it's just putting aside a little bit of time. I often do it on the weekend. Just giving yourself 10 minutes a week to check your finances can really help boost your confidence and how you manage your money. So just like it's 10 minutes a day to kind of improve your financial knowledge and literacy, I encourage you to spend 10 minutes every week to get your finances in order. And so with that, again, your goal is to just bring some awareness to your numbers. Your numbers are not there to judge you. They're not there to point a finger and say, you're being naughty. No, the numbers are just there to give you awareness, because hopefully once you have awareness to all of your financial data, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you can feel in control because you know what's happening in your financial world. And then with that, controlling it then should hopefully build your confidence, which is what I really want. So with that, the importance of tracking your data, I think it's really important that you understand where your money is going. Often with the whirlwind of the day, I talk a lot with my clients that money will escape from your checking account and your savings account if you're not careful. It's going to disappear. It's going to get spent, whether you intentionally spend it or unintentionally you're spending your dollars. It will leave your account if you're not careful. And my hope is by giving you some awareness with that 10 minutes every week, you can really get and acknowledge maybe some overspending you might have. Like one of my weaknesses is Amazon. If I'm not careful, Amazon will take every dollar out of my account. And so my goal for you to get intentional around understanding your money is so that you can then make intentional decisions about what you're spending on every month. Again, you can't build on your legacy of long-term, retirement or long-term savings if you don't track what money you have and where it's going. So let's break it into a 10-minute weekly system that I'm recommending. The first thing is you got to check your accounts, your credit cards, your apps, making sure that the money that's supposed to be in your account is being spent the way you want it. You just do a quick dive. Do you have the balances that you're expecting? You don't have to do a deep dive as you begin your process into this 10-minute weekly review, but you do need to do a quick scan. Were there any unnecessary charges that might have hit your account? Did you have an extra credit card charge that you weren't expecting? Really acknowledge and be aware of what those accounts are and what those balances are. The next thing is categorizing your spending. You want to keep it simple. I'm really big on high-level categories: subscriptions, groceries, housing, eating out, or maybe just food in general. As you begin your new process, you don't have to get into the nitty-gritty that says, here's my ChatGPT subscription, my Apple subscriptions, my movie subscriptions, just general subscriptions. Because as you really get into, understanding utilities, refine and get comfortable with this 10-minute review and just high-level categories at first. And then later on, as you're getting more comfortable and more consistently looking at your review of your finances, you can define other subcategories after that. So the first one is just really keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it. The next step, number 3, is review and reflect. I'm a big lesson learn proponent and a reflection person. And so for me, every week, when I do my review and I look back, I ask myself this question: did my spending align with my priorities? And for you, as you're beginning this process, maybe it's just to say, I don't want it to go into further debt, or, I just want to make sure I'm keeping my food budget within insert amount. Did that spending align with your priorities? And if it didn't, Or if it did, then kudos for, spending to your plan. And if it didn't, just reflect a little bit on what you might want to change for the next week. Another thing you could ask yourself was there anything surprising me about my expenses, my spending? Did I overspend in a certain category? Or oops, I forgot, about, this big bill that was coming in. Give yourself some grace if you have some mistakes along the way. That's perfectly okay. But just acknowledge it and think about how you're going to improve upon that. And then with that, our last step is, do you need to make any adjustments? I would recommend starting with just one simple tweak that you might do for the following week. Don't try to overwhelm yourself with too many things all at once, especially as you're trying to build this new habit. So again, maybe it's I'm going to, reduce my eating out next week, or perhaps I'm going to, transfer a small amount into my savings. Just give yourself one simple adjustment, and then every week you continue to change and update your adjustments. And again, remember, try to be flexible as you're trying to build what your monthly expenditures are going to look like, because no month is going to be consistent. There's 4-week months, there's 5-week months. There could be a big month because you go back to school, or maybe a school bill or loan is due. Give yourself some grace on that. And then the next thing to keep in mind, is the consistency. Your goal is to not be perfect. It's just to be consistent. 10 minutes every week gives you 8 hours of awareness for a full year. And that's all I would ask of you, is to make baby steps. One step at a time is where you're going to be making your progress. And so with that, I really encourage you. I have a blog this month that I am talking about. April is Financial Literacy Month. And so really encourage you to do some reading. Check out my blog if you want to learn, what are some habits that you could build into your financial literacy awareness. But the other thing to encourage you is I have a lot of free resources on my website, LordFinancialCoaching.com. I have an annual spending planner where you can go and kind of think about how do you want to spend every month for an entire year. So take a look at that. And again, this is Coach Kathy. If you like this information, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and maybe hit the like button and or the bell, so every time I post new content, you can get awareness to it. And just wishing you the best as you move along your financial prosperity journey. And remember, one small step of progress can really make strides in your financial prosperity. Wishing you the best.